What is up, guys? Wasted on my memes back here with an update on the Blood Magic Blood Mage cast on crit Flame Blast character. Yes, we have swapped back to Flame Blast from Lightning Warp. I know, I'm just kind of ADD. The build now has really good quality of life, good survivability in maps, great damage on bosses. We have capped chaos res, we have 40% block chance, we have critical strike chance cap, we have 650 crit multi, and overall the build just feels really good. The total budget was around 45 divines, and the reason that I think it's so cheap to put these items together is because there aren't a lot of people playing crit. So the jewels, different pieces of equipment, which I'll go over later on in the video, are just they're very affordable. So yeah, I can fully recommend the build. It's definitely still a little quirky. There's definitely some stuff that you want to avoid. You do not want to pre-cast frost walls. You only want to drop frost walls once your cast on crit is rolling. And if you watch some of the footage here, you'll see kind of what I'm talking about. And you don't want to throw frost walls when you're mapping. Essentially, frost walls will proc your cast on crit, and you'll pay the mana cost for your comets or your ball lightnings or both. And if there isn't a target for those comets and ball lightnings to hit, you won't leech, and then your life will just sort of plummet. That's what you want to avoid. So TLDR, just be careful about when you cast your frost walls. Generally, it's for when you've begun damaging the boss. It's the easiest way to think about it. So yeah, I've been blasting good amounts. I've managed to level up twice without dying, so that was I was like, okay, I can actually recommend this to people. Like you know, dying is a big no-no in PoE 2, and the build's tanky enough now that I'm more confident being like, yeah, you guys should totally check this out. Like it's playable with the setup. So yeah, I'm gonna go over the pass tree. I'm gonna go over the items, and go over the gems and stuff. I will also make a POB, probably not tonight, but either tomorrow or the next day coming up here, I'll have a POB posted in the comments. Just can't import your character, you know, I have to enter everything in. I want to make sure that I do it properly. I'll probably include some notes in there for suggestions and stuff. But yeah, this is not a leveling build. You definitely want to have a level 90 character, 90 to 95 character, honestly, to swap to this. And it's also the sort of thing where you probably want to have at least 10, 15 divines to switch into it. But I appreciate y'all watching. I'm going to get into the deep dive here. And yeah, good luck to you. What's up, guys? Going to do a little bit more of an in-depth overview of some of the changes to the setup. The skeleton of the build is still the same from the last deep dive video I did, so this one will probably be a little bit shorter. The POB will have some notes that are pretty detailed about why things work. To start this off, though, I do want to talk quickly about the essential must-have parts of this build, the breakpoints, if you will. If you're new to Path of Exile, or if you never played Path of Exile 1, you're only playing Path of Exile 2, and you don't have really any experience with off-meta builds, a lot of them have kind of seemingly arbitrary or seemingly unimpactful requirements that are actually like super necessary for the build functioning. If you have less than, I'd say if you have less than 3,000 life, the build kind of goes from working to not working. And it seems like, you know, how much of a difference could 100 life, could 50 life really make? And it's like, just because of the way that the game works, you really do have to have a minimum of 3,000. I wouldn't recommend playing the build with any less. And even more importantly, in fact, probably of paramount importance, is you have to have 100% critical hit chance for your spells. There's plenty of stuff in the build that goes into achieving this, but you don't want to swap to the build until you can get this number to 100. Even 99.6. The build's going to feel bad. You're going to die. You're not going to do a lot of damage. And that's just kind of how it is. You really do have to get that to 100. A lot of that's because of its zero acuity, but it's also just because we primarily scale our damage through crit multi, and not dealing your crit multi damage on even one spell cast when you're using spells like Comet and Flame Blast is going to feel really, really noticeable, really, really bad. So obviously we're back to Flame Blast from Lightning Warp. There's not really too much to say about the supports. I'll hover over them slowly and put them in the POB. But there isn't a lot of choice in support gems. I wish that there was like a channeling skill support or some sort of like, something that was maybe a little more suited to Flame Blast. I've tried like mobility support, it doesn't really do anything. These are just like pretty stock standard damage, cast speed, area of effect. Like that's all we're doing here. Shield charge makes me depressed. I don't like looking at it. If you know, you know. Arctic armor is super, super important for mapping. It not only does Arctic armor just destroy small monsters that hit you with melee attacks, it also is dealing spell damage and leeches for you. So when you get hit by a beyond monster that spawned on top of you, that monster dies and you leech. It's super, super nice. It's really big for maps. Don't skip Arctic Armor. Grim Feast is just to keep a barrier between our mana pool, if you will, our life and instant death. It's nice to have our energy shield refilling without it having to recharge. Cannibalism and Vitality are super, super good as well. You will notice if you don't have these socketed. Cast on Crit Ball Lightning is the same as it's been. Really, you can look at this. The only thing that this really needs to be doing is applying a shock. So we have Overcharge, Ball Lightning. I have Lightning Exposure and Scattershot in here. These could probably be better support gems. These are probably not best in slot. This is the important thing. It's that you're shocking with this Ball Lightning. Our Comet, I threw Inspiration in here for considered casting to make mapping more comfortable. It worked really well. I don't even put considered casting in for bossing, even though it would be an enormous damage boost. There is a much more glass cannon version of this setup that I could probably configure, and I might put it together and take some footage with it just to see, what I can get the damage to do. But yeah, Inspiration in here instead of considered casting. We're running a pretty standard triggered Comet with concentrated effect, Spell Echo, and Impetus. Not too much else to say there. If you're mapping like Breach or something, you can throw Spell Cascade in for a concentrated effect. And that'll increase the AoE of the Comets considerably. Frostwall, best spell in the game. Spell Cascade, Glaciation, Cold Exposure, Icicle. We're really only casting this on bosses to chain our cast on crits. As you can see in the footage, I could go over that interaction a little bit. I don't really. I think Frostwall is going to get nerfed into the ground, guys. So let's enjoy it while we can. But Frostwall is definitely like a linchpin of this build, and honestly, probably the best spell in the game. It's completely overpowered. We use Flammability instead of a cold spell because we have Heavy Frost, which negates enemy cold resistance, and bosses are always freezing pretty much immediately when the fight starts. So then this just helps our Flame Blast do more damage. Solar Orb helps us cast Flame Blast. Fire Exposure, strip away. Okay, so we have pretty solid defenses now. The 40% block might not seem like a lot, but we don't really need a lot. You only really need to block, I think even if you had like 30% block, it would probably be, pretty substantially noticeable. And if I could get this number to like 60, be crazy. Chaos Res Cap and all that good stuff. Looking at the gear, wand's the most expensive thing. A +4 all spell skills, high critical hit chance wand is going to run you, I don't know. It depends on how good your other mods are, but I think these are between 4 and 10 div for like a usable one. I haven't upgraded this in forever and it works fine. So if you can get one, it's not the sort of thing you need to be upgrading all the time. Seed of the Cataclysm, I just threw these in both slots. I got my resistances sorted out, and even with the dead implicit, these are just so much value. This was 2 divines, this was 1 divine for a combined 120 crit multi and 98 crit hit chance for spells, 30 chaos res. It's just they're crazy value. We don't really notice the increased mana cost because our damage and leech are so effective. Helmet's just a very standard helmet. dodge any mana affixes and get res life, critical hit chance. The chest is really just life and spirits. I don't really have any other good mods on here. You need at least 180 spirits, or 185 spirit, excuse me, for the build to feel good. So you don't actually need to use a shaman mantle. If you can get some spirit on your amulet and a high spirit roll on your chest, you can use any old chest you want. Just make sure you're aiming for that 185. I'll put that in the POB as well. Amulets, I haven't upgraded this. It's just all spell skills, cast speed, spirit. Big things here, the spirit and all spell skills. The rest of the stuff you can kind of swap around for good mods. These aren't very expensive. I went for Heartbreaking as an anoint because I have a really good Megalomaniac that covers 2 other notables. Series Cutie, Mandatory, already talked about that. The belt's just res and life. It's giving us a chunk of chaos res. Belt was a few divine. I think it was 3 divine because it has the good chaos res and resistance rolls. And these are, so I paid 2 divines for these boots. I don't know if I got ripped off. Maybe I did. I don't know. I just wanted to buy something quickly and move on. Just res, life, movement speed, energy shield. And then the shield. Yeah, the shield's just capping up our resistances, giving us some life and that big block chance. That's all you're really looking for there. So notable things on the tree. Grand Spectrum Rubies for % max life. I have 3 of these. Really kind of essential. You do kind of have to have those. I don't know how much they cost right now, but they were 2 divines when I bought them. Kind of a necessary part of the passive tree for the build. I got this Megalomaniac for 2 divines, which I feel like maybe is a little bit of a good deal. It's a Throat Seeker and Sudden Escalation. These 2 nodes go really well together. This kind of covers for the downside of Throat Seeker and gives us some cast speed. And this is just a big 60 crit multi. So yeah, really good Megalomaniac. Got kind of lucky. Rest of the tree is pretty much the same as it has been. I added the points that I've added to the tree have just gotten me jewel sockets. This is my only rare jewel. I was just meaning to upgrade this actually. And then Time Lost Sapphires. These haven't changed. They're just double crit damage bonus on notable. So they're just giving us more crit multi. These, again, I farmed these from Trials of the Sycamore, so I don't know how expensive they actually would be. I should look that up, though. I can't imagine they'd be terribly expensive. Crit is not meta, and they don't have, like, it's really only the 2 synergistic mods. And then Prism of Belief for Flame Blast. This was 3 divines. I bought this today. 36% more damage for Flame Blast for 3 divines and 3 passive points. Seemed good to me. I kind of want to get a Comet one, but instead of this, but that would be, I think they're like 50 div or something, but I don't know. Maybe if I just like keep playing early access, I will. Otherwise, the tree is pretty lean. There aren't a lot of like optional points on this tree. I'll go more in depth about it in the POB. But yeah, that's pretty much everything. I appreciate you guys watching. I hope that you're having fun with early access. Curious what your thoughts on the state of the game are, state of support gems, like when, like what sort of content should be in the next patch, all that sort of stuff. So I appreciate y'all tuning in. If you have any questions, for sure, just feel free to leave a comment and I'll answer to the best of my ability. And yeah, POB is coming soon. So y'all take care.